Now let's take a look at how to create atmospheric effects in 3ds Max. We're going to create what's called a volume light. Now I have this simple scene here, and it's really just a room with a window. So I'm going to highlight this camera view here, and let's just do a quick render to see what we have. Now this scene is basically just a spotlight coming through the window and creating this nice shadow effect. Now if we want to enhance this effect, we might want to add what's called a volume light, which kind of gives more of a haze to the atmosphere in the room, so you'll be able to actually see the light. So we can do this by selecting the light. So here we have the spotlight. So let's go ahead and go into our target spot. And if we scroll down, you'll see we have a rollout here called Atmospheres and Effects. And this is where we add in volume lights. So all we have to do is add, and here's the volume light. Click OK. And so now I have one volume light effect attached to this light. Now I can actually have multiple ones if I want. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this one and click Setup. Now when I click Setup, it brings me into the Environment and Effects window. Now this controls a lot of different things, including background color and global lighting and all that stuff. But if I scroll down to the very bottom, you'll see that I have volume light parameters and atmosphere. So if I select my volume light, you can see that these are the parameters for this. Now by default, this renders with a fog color of white. So let's go ahead and just highlight that camera view again and do a quick render production. So this is kind of the default light, and as you can see, we get a lot of volume light and probably a little bit too much. So let's go ahead and start adjusting parameters to get this into shape. So first thing is, what's the color of the fog? Well, this light itself is kind of a yellowish color, so I'm going to go ahead and create a yellow color. If we want, we can also change attenuation color. So what you can do is you can have the fog change as the light attenuates. Now probably the most important control here is density. So if you bring that density value down, it's going to decrease the thickness of that fog. So I'm going to bring it down to 0.5, and let's do a quick render. So as you can see, we're getting a much better effect. Another thing we can do is turn on noise to give kind of more of a mottled effect to the fog. So if I turn on noise here and turn this up a bit, say maybe to about 0.6 or so, and then I'm also going to turn up the density of my fog to about 1.5. And when I do that and I render that camera view, you can see that the noise actually starts to affect the quality of the fog, so it gives it a little bit more of a mottled or noisy effect. And this can add a little bit more realism to your fog. So as you can see, volume lights are one of many atmospheric effects that we can do in 3ds Max, and it's very easy to attach it to lights to create more realistic atmospheres in your renders.